On today's Locked On Nationals, we get into which Washington National has the most to prove in the year of 2025. We have a pitcher and as well as a position player, and these guys might be on the hot seat.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, search us up, Locked On Nationals, wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your pods. Again, hit that subscriber button, please. Later on in today's show, we'll be discussing, plenty of things on the Washington Nationals, but Robert Hassell III, your key Washington National in the Arizona Fall League, he is killing the baseball. We'll discuss him and his expectations heading into 2025. Second segment, we've got a little bit of a buy or sell situation on some free agents that the Nationals could be in on. Are you buying the rumor or are you going to sell it? We'll discuss that in the second segment of today's show, but we start off discussing who has the most to prove as far as Washington Nationals go. I've got a pitcher for you, and as well as a position player. We'll discuss that, but today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, and you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. So let's jump right into it. Well, first and foremost, actually, let me discuss this. You may know, if you're watching over on YouTube, you're like, Ryan, what are you doing with the studio? Well, this is what happens when you're moving. Crazy things happen. So, recording in the office today. But let's get into it because we've got a lot to discuss here on Locked On Nationals. So, first and foremost, let's start off with a pitcher. Which Washington Nationals pitcher has the most to prove in 2025? And for me, it's Cade Cavalli. Cade Cavalli has a ton to prove entering 2025. If you remember entering 2022, Cade Cavalli was the number 39 prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com. This was someone that a lot of us, including myself at that point in time, thought he could be an ace of this team. Cade Cavalli had the stuff. He put up the numbers in his first complete season with the Nationals as well. I mean, he climbed 3 different levels across 2021 when he started off in high A, went to double A, and then went all the way up to triple A, and he dominated relatively at every single level. He started off in 2021 with 123 in the third innings pitch and 175 strikeouts. That's almost 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. Meanwhile, doing that, only gave up a half home run per 9 innings as well, and his numbers were phenomenal. 2022, followed up in AAA, looked really good, made his Major League debut, came up short, got rocked by the Cincinnati Reds, and, that's what happens when your pitcher is young, when he's got a lot to prove. And since then, he was shut down in 2022, went into spring training fully healthy, got Tommy John surgery, missed the entire 2023 season, and then this year, rehab for 1 start, and then was shut down for the rest of the season as well after recovering from Tommy John. This is now the biggest season for Cade Cavalli. He has so much to prove entering this season that, in my opinion, I think he's got a ton of pressure. You may look around the starting pitchers right now. Mackenzie Gore. He's got the ace-like stuff. That's what we expect from him going into next season. Josiah Gray's on the shelf with Tommy John. Jake Irvin had a tremendous first half of this season, and in my opinion, should have been an all-star. He put up all-star numbers, and he has proven that he's going to be a mainstay in this rotation. But I look at Cade Cavalli as someone who has the most to prove. Because honestly, before these injuries, Cade Cavalli may have had the highest ceiling of those 3 guys. He definitely had the higher ceiling of Jake Irvin, and in my opinion, Cade Cavalli, when he was at his best pre-Tommy John, he had a higher ceiling than Mackenzie Gore. Flashing 100-mile-per-hour fastball, dirty curve as well, a solid changeup that he would work in there. Cade Cavalli still has that potential, I guess, outside of the 100-mile-per-hour fastball at this point in time. But I expect Cavalli to start the year in AAA and then work his way up back into the big leagues. And I think that's a fair expectation. The former first-round pick, I mean, listen, you're a first-round pick. You're a top 40, and in some cases, even a top 20 prospect, according to some sites across different websites that you check. A Futures Game appearance. All the accolades. He had the potential to be that kind of guy for the Nationals, and he still does. And in my opinion, he's kind of the odd man out at this point. So as far as pitchers go, Cade Cavalli has the most to prove. And can he prove to us that he is worth all the praise and all the hype and all the waiting that we have been doing since 2023? We'll have to see. Position player, Keibert Ruiz. Keibert Ruiz, in my opinion, is on a little bit of a hot seat entering 2025. Now, you might be saying, well, he signed an 8-year, $50 million extension that could be worth up to $76 million. He's here for the long run. I agree with that. But statistically, Keibert Ruiz has been wildly disappointing, really, over the last 2 seasons. Last year, I will say he was good at the plate, but in 2023, defensively, he was a mess. In 2024, he was still a mess. At this point in time, pressure is going to be put on Keibert. It's only a matter of time. And what we saw yesterday, the Los Angeles Angels, someone who I really wanted, in fact, they signed Travis d'Arnaud to a 2-year, $12 million contract. That's the same amount of money that Keibert Ruiz is making right now. Would they allocate $12 million because Keibert Ruiz at this point is getting around $6 million per year? Would they allocate that money to a catcher position? Maybe. But I think it's a little bit of a deeper conversation than that. Because Keibert Ruiz, while we want him to be the talented prospect that we all thought he was going to be down the line, we all wanted him to be that. We could see the potential with him. You never necessarily saw all the tools click at one time. We haven't seen that at this point. The fact that this guy could have been a power hitting, switch hitting catcher who was also solid defensively down in the minors, we haven't seen any of those things click at one point. And in fact, the defense is a big problem. And every time I talk about Keibert Ruiz, some people just throw him over at first base. My first baseman in the big leagues is not going to have a 619 OPS, what he just had this season. My first baseman will not only hit 13 home runs in 127 games. My first baseman will have to hit for power. And we'll address that. And I hope the Nationals will as well. But I'm not going to say I'm out on Keibert Ruiz. He could easily turn it around. The guy has the talent. You've seen him at times as he ended the second half of the season very strong. But something we bring up a lot with Keibert is what he does when he's probably had his best approach out there. And when Keibert Ruiz has that great approach, when he has his head in a swivel, you see the best version of him. You see the best version as to why this guy was a top prospect in a loaded Dodgers system. He's got the talent. He's got the ability. But at this point, he has not put that together. And that is a frustrating part of watching prospects in general, but in reality, watching Keibert Ruiz. Because you see it. We've seen it at times. But when will it all click? When will he have that breakout season? When will he hit for 25 home runs and have an OPS north of 750? That's what I'm waiting for. And that's what needs to happen for me to marry him and make sure that he's the long-term catcher. Because I'm not going to lie, paying him $6 million a year for the next 8 seasons, no problem. That's chump change as far as prospects go, as far as former big-time prospects go. If you can get some production out of him, you'll be just fine. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast next. Are we buying or are we selling these Nationals free agents, potential free agents? We'll discuss that after we tell you guys about some of our new friends over at SelectQuote. And guys, the World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. And of course, I can tell you guys, SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and to be the healthiest, best version of you. SelectQuote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. And SelectQuote, they shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/locked-on. Go to selectquote.com/locked-on today to get started. That's selectquote.com/locked-on. Now we get into a buy or sell for Washington National potential free agents. And are you buying or selling that the Nats could be in on these free agents? I think this is an interesting one because the Nationals, these aren't like full rumors, but I think a lot of these guys are real possibilities. Am I buying that the Nationals will be in on them, or am I selling the idea of it? Well, let's start off with Christian Walker. I'm buying this. I think that the Nationals will be in on a Christian Walker type. 34 years old this opening day, entering 2025. Christian Walker is coming off a very good season. He's won 3 straight Gold Glove awards over at first base for the Diamondbacks. He's been healthy. He's put up very good offensive seasons with, again, big power. He's hit 26 home runs, 33 home runs, and 36 home runs each of the last 3 seasons. That solves an issue right then and there. And then also, he's a Gold Glover over at first base. This would kind of be like an Adam LaRoche signing. Someone who's not all that young, but it would make sense. Mike Rizzo has done this before, and you've seen it pay off with an Adam LaRoche. Someone who's very good over at first base, who's got power, who could be a leader in the clubhouse. He's been in a World Series before. He's come close to winning a World Series, but ultimately lost against the Texas Rangers. But still, this is something I could see the Nationals doing. I'm not going to lie. I would rather have them go after someone else. But at this point, Christian Walker would make sense, and I would not be upset with it. He is 34. I'm not sure how much longer he's got of hitting 30-plus home runs and winning Gold Gloves every single year, but he doesn't really have that much playing time up in the bigs. He really only started playing consistently back in 2019. Before that, wasn't really playing that much. Was kind of someone down in the minors you never really hear too much of, and he has developed into a very nice piece for the Diamondbacks, and now he's hit the free agency market, and he certainly does have a pretty decent-sized market out there. So Christian Walker, I'm buying that idea. I'm selling the idea of Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes is a little bit of a pipe dream at this point, 30 years old, coming off, he won the Cy Young Award back in 2021. This guy has been one of the most consistent pitchers in all of baseball the last 4 seasons. Corbin Burnes is a big name. He's going to have a big market. In my opinion, he's the best starting pitcher on this market, and it's really not that close. I think Corbin Burnes, I'm not 100% buying that he's going to be just an afterthought for the Nationals because I just don't think they're going to pony up the money that it'll take to get him. He's probably going to get somewhere like 7 years, $250 million. I don't really know at this point. You can never really predict where free agency's going to go. But he's going to get a pretty big deal. I just don't see the Nationals forking over that money at this point. It'd be great if they did, but I'm not going to buy on that fact. So I'm going to sell the idea that we get a Corbin Burnes type. I'm buying in, though, on the Nationals going after an NL East foe with Pete Alonso. They've done this before. This is the transcript for how they did 2011. You went after, you overpaid Jason Worth. Everyone laughed at you. They called you, how could you do this? This guy is a above average hitter, but is he really worth all that money? I could see the Nationals forking over some money for a big name guy who's going to hit 40 plus home runs. He's in the early middle stages of his career, still relatively young, 29 years old, will be 30 years old by opening day. I could see the Nationals overpaying for a Pete Alonso type. Now, he's not going to answer much over at first base, meaning defensively, but the guy solves so many issues for you at the plate. So many. Adding a Pete Alonso type, dream of this scenario real quick. Leading off, you've got C.J. Abrams. Batting second, Dylan Cruz. Batting third, James Wood. Batting fourth, Pete Alonso. That is a pretty damn sexy top four right there. And then even down the line, Brady House batting fifth. That is not a bad top five in your lineup. And when I think about that, it gets me a little excited. Pete Alonso would answer so many questions for this team. Number one, a clubhouse leader. And number two, been there, done that in the postseason. We covered that extensively over the last few months here. He has had big moments in the postseason earlier on in October, just about a month ago, against the Brewers in the wild card round, tying the game with a big opposite field home run. Pete Alonso has done that. And he's also been healthy. He stays healthy every single season. He's an Iron Man of baseball. And he's a leader in the clubhouse. And he hits bombs. Some Nats fans may not love him, but I love him in that curly W. I am selling the idea of the Nationals going after Alex Bregman. It just doesn't make sense. I think the Nationals could make maybe not a bigger splash, but it doesn't make sense for how their farm system is stacked. Maybe they do trade Brady House. Maybe they trade receiver King. Maybe they trade Yohandy Morales. But I think at this time, third base is your best position as far as prospects go. You've got all the talent in the world there. Where does it stop? I think Alex Bregman eventually will be moved over at second base. This guy just won a Gold Glove over at the hot corner. It's not going to be happening anytime soon. And I think if he were to sign with the Washington Nationals, you're going to be paying a loser tax. This guy's not going to come here for the same offer as, let's say, the New York Yankees or even the Houston Astros. You're going to have to overpay him. And if you overpay him, you're not going to overpay him to go over to second base. He can play there and play it just fine, but I'm not going to overpay for a second baseman. If you're going to get Alex Bregman, you have to trade Brady House, in my opinion, or you have to trade Yohandy Morales. And honestly, at this point, I'm not all that interested in doing that, depending on the return. But I'm just not buying in on the fact the Nationals will fork over the money that he's going to demand. Whether it's $150 million, $100, I don't know at this point. But I'm just not buying in the fact I cannot picture Alex Bregman wearing a Nationals uniform. Would I welcome him here with open arms? I would. He's a veteran player. He's done it in the postseason. A leader in the clubhouse. He puts up good numbers still for his age. And again, he's coming off a down-ish season and down last few seasons. Really, ever since 2019, he has not been the same. But at this point, I'm selling that idea. I'm also selling that the Nationals will be out on Juan Soto. Listen, I don't care what Jeff Passan says. Juan Soto is going to get $600 million, maybe more. I don't care what anybody says. 25, 26 years old, entering free agency, 26 years old. He just turned 26 a few days ago. He's going to get 14 years, $650. That is what I'm calling right now. Is it going to be Steve Cohen with the Mets? Is it going to be Hal Steinbrenner with the Yankees? I don't know at this point. But it's not going to be the Washington Nationals. And I did see one of our guys, Kev from One Pursuit Takes, brought a good take the other day. The Nationals do have a leg to stand on. They have a young core. They do have a bright future with the farm system. But Juan Soto wants to win a World Series in 2025. He's done that here in D.C. I don't think he's the icing on the cake, though. You've got a lot of holes to fill. And if you sign a Juan Soto, you don't have a salary cap, but still, let's read the room a little bit. If they do go after Juan Soto and pay him 45 AAV, 50, whatever it is to take him, even with deferred money, I'm not buying in on the learners to go out there and spend big on a starting pitcher. I just don't see that happening at this point. So I'm selling the idea of signing Juan Soto. I'm buying the idea, though, of the Nationals going after Walker Buehler. He is kind of one of those slept-on names right now where, he's been hurt. He just pitched in his first games since 2022 this last year. His regular season numbers are awful. But I can see the Nationals and Walker Buehler as well taking like a 2-3 year deal and kind of giving him an option after year one and signing him and overpaying a little bit. We've seen it with Walker Buehler. This guy at his best is an ace. In 2024, it was a tough year. Again, not pitching in nearly 2 years of baseball. That's tough for anyone to ask. But you saw it in the postseason. The old Walker Buehler, he came back. I'd be more than happy to give him a few-year deal with an option after year one and see what this guy can do. Because here's the thing. If Walker Buehler doesn't work out, you tried. Whatever. But if Mike Rizzo makes that signing, I would trust him. He usually does well with these rebound kind of guys. And he's certainly one of those rebound guys that I would be willing to take a gamble on this season. Speaking of gambling, you guys have to know this. Robert Hassell III, he's getting hot in the Arizona Fall League. We'll discuss that after we tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at FanDuel. And of course, I have told you guys about FanDuel time and time again, and you have to get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. How good of a deal is that? All you have to do is download America's #1 sportsbook and visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com, and never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now let's get back into it with Robert Hassell III here as we wrap up today's Locked On Nationals. The Arizona Fall League is not everything, but when you have had a tough stretch with #1 injuries, in just the last few years of Robert Hassell, someone who was a promising prospect at one point, I got to notice this. Over 21 games, he's batting around 300, has an OPS north of 900. He's got 24 hits and plus over that in 21 games. The guy is on fire. 4 home runs. He's stealing bases as well. 5 stolen bases. Hasn't been caught once as well. In 21 games, Robert Hassell III, he's one of those guys who you forget about, but still, he was one of the premier prospects in that Juan Soto trade. If you get a healthy Robert Hassell III back and he takes off entering 2025, this is a huge deal for the Nationals. I don't even think the Nationals would trade him at this point. I think the Nationals are going to want to hold on to him because it's just a matter of time for him, in my opinion. This guy, I was talking about and raving about his floor. When he was struggling in 2022, I was like, don't worry about it. This guy has a floor to have like a 790 OPS up in the bigs. He's going to steal bases. He'll be great defensively. He'll be really good at the plate. And he's going to provide a lot of different things. He will just be a consistent ball player. We have not seen that at this point. But over the course of 21 games in the Fall League, which is pretty premier talent, I'm very encouraged from what I have seen. And I'm going to ignore the fact that he had 345 OPS in AAA this year. But still, Robert Hassell III, keep your eye on him. The kid is getting hot. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy your Wednesday. Have a good one. Go Nats.